One of the things that, is a common phrase of yours, other than the shoes, is putting the fish on the table. Now, that's something that you have constantly used in every conversation you have, especially when we're going through challenging times. Why do you use that phrase, and why do you think it really matters?
You see, leadership is, for me, first of all about trust. And I think trust is about having transparency in organization. And if you have transparency, it also means that you need to tackle issues around. You can't hide them, you can't put them away. So when you say that you have to put the fish on the table, if you put it under the table, eventually it's going to smell. So you need to tackle things, concerns that people have. As we said, we're not perfect, we need input, and we appreciate input, and I think that's important. So the whole thing with fish on the table is to make sure that we don't have things growing in the organization that we could handle, but we can't handle because we don't know about it.
And then there's the other one, putting ourselves in other people's shoes, and says, if that was me, how would I want this to land, or how would I want this conversation to carry forward?
One of the biggest misconception I think you can have as a human and as a leader is that you assume that people think and believe and want the same thing as you want yourself. Every person is different, and I think that is especially valid, during a crisis situation, or when you go through, for example, change management and like that. The people come along these times in a very different way because they have different understanding of things, and they have different things that drives them. Some people want to work around the clock to get a career, and some people are happy in a job that it doesn't provide a career. And you have to understand that when you work with people, that everyone is different. And I think it's especially important when you talk about, for example, customers, because very often say put on the customer shoes, because if you really can understand what the customer expects from you. And very often it's the small things. You can just lift the phone and see how you're doing today, how's everything during this difficult time now, how you do. And the value of that from a customer perspective can be very, very high, and much higher than you anticipate it to be when you sit there. Just that concern.
Absolutely. Through the course of my career, one of the functions that has had a lot of influence on me has been the marketing function. So taking forward that, putting ourselves in our customers' shoes, I try to put myself in the shoes of our teams, the shoes of our employees. And a number of the questions that have come through have obviously been around, what opportunities do I have to learn and grow, and what opportunities do I have to build a career in this organization? So I think going forward, that's something that I commit to applying my time to, so that I make sure we're providing people that clarity and listening to what they'd like to see and how they would like their careers to grow.
Of course, if we put ourselves in our employees' shoes, of course you recognize what people really want. I think the whole strategy thing like that makes the direction a bit clear for people. But of course they need to know their own direction as well, not only the overall company, but also where are they going as a person in the organization. Unfortunately, organizations are not always very good on that. I think every organization always has to work on that, to give some clarity on what is the next step for you, how do we see you. And once again, coming back to putting fish on the table, you need to be very honest in that feedback, so people know, where do I need to improve, take the next step. So you don't rate people very high year on year and then you never give them the opportunity. Then instead you need to tell them, how can they learn further so that we can get them into good career position, if that is what they want.
Absolutely, absolutely. You've got a long track record as a manager, as a leader. What do you think are those key traits that have resonated with you and you feel you've pulled forward during this time of crisis?
I don't see myself necessarily as a CEO. I see myself as a business coordinator. It's like a little bit, it's like, the one who, orchestrate, like an orchestra playing, for example. It's not, I have to recognize this is a team effort. It's something that we do together. It's not me sitting there taking decision on things, and I have to coordinate how we act as a team. And I think in that context also have to realize, and I think it's very important that anyone in a leadership position realize that the best thing you can do is surrounding yourself with a strong team. And I have to be able to say I have an HR person that is better in HR than me. I have a finance person that is better in finance than me, and so forth. And I think it's very important that you recognize that very often when people come into senior management position, they believe suddenly that everything rests on themselves. And it's not the way it works.
Yeah. And I think the team that you lead also has to understand that the leader doesn't have monopoly over decisions and actions that are taken. So each member of that team should be able to play their rightful role for this leader to also then play their role as the leader of the team.